Oh, wow. What a journey on this boom tube. Once again, Wallace Ryan here in the Library of Graphic Literature. Yay! Your comic book home away from home. The most easterly comic book library in North America. Yes, that we are. Anyway, just flew in using my boom tube, and boy are my arms tired. Anyway, today this is actually a bonus episode for this week because I'm just feeling in that kind of mood. So anyway, I decided, what am I going to do? What haven't I covered, or what could I cover even a little bit more in depth, or just what do I love that I could cover today? And what do I love? Of course, I love Jack Kirby. Yay! Anyway, long affair with Jack Kirby. When I was a kid, I didn't really like him, a child, but once I hit 11 or 12 or whatever, the revelation hit, and I knew that Kirby was a bloody genius. Anyway, so, and people always talk about Kirby, the Golden Age Kirby, the Silver Age, blah, 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 blah. My personal favorite is probably his Silver Age stuff, but I kind of throw in his Bronze Age stuff with it too. Because he had a second Silver Age, I do believe, at DC in the 70s. And I think about that because I was a kid. Those were the Kirby comics I was buying at the time. Now, of course, I bought all kinds of Thor, all kinds of Fantastic Four. I bought all, for a very cheap price that I don't want to talk about here. In the early 70s, I bought all my 60s Kirbys and all that. And I just went totally around the bend with it. Anyway, so today is going to be the 1970s Kirby, his Dirty Dozen books. So I've picked out basically 12 of my favorite of his work back then, and we're going to start with number 12, and number 12 starts with, let me pull it up here, The Sandman. Now this, of course, this is number 12, so this is latter 70s, and it was kind of enjoyable, I liked it. I mean, Fleischer was writing it and all that, but I mean, there was something kind of fun about it. I kind of liked and I liked his costume for some reason. I have no idea why, but I always did kind of like his costume. So, his latter Sandman, shall we say, big favorite of mine. Number 11, of course, is Spared World. Now, Spared World was his experiment in the 60s. In the 70s, when he came to DC, he wanted to do some comic magazines, and this was one of them. Absolutely, the artwork in this, I think, is absolutely stunning. Now, this is from the DC reprinting of it. Now, this has the first and second issue of it in it. The second issue was never done, but they had it all. Well, it was done, but it was never published. But fortunately for this, it actually has those stories. Now, those stories were reprinted elsewhere and stuff like that, so they basically reassembled it for your love and enjoyment here. But anyway, Spirit World, I can remember seeing the ads for this in DC Comics at the time, and it looked so cool. Now, it turns out, of course, once I actually had these. I should buy them again somewhere. But when I bought it, I realized that, geez, that cover is done by Neil Adams. It's kind of cool. Then his other magazine, coming in at number 10, is In the Days of the Mob. Now, this is my favorite of the two, because I like the mob stuff and all that. And I do believe he got cover done by Kirby himself. And I also had this too. Very, very cool. But so if you like gangland stuff and all that, it's classic Kirby action. It's some of my favorite of his crime stuff. this is Kirby. To me, this is Kirby at his, and especially early '70s. That was, to me, was Kirby at his most brilliant. It was Kirby unleashed. Well, he was unleashed in the '60s. He was unfettered in the '70s. So he just took things and ran with it, did his own thing. And I mean, to me, it shows the magic behind the '60s Marvel, because you see it in the early '70s DC, the Fourth World, and titles like that, and even a little bit in this one here, the Eternals. To me, at the time, I was, like I say, I was a big fan of New Gods, and to me, this was almost like a New Gods for the present generation, and it was actually quite a cool comic. It was one of his last great masterpieces in my mind. The Eternals is just filled with great concepts. The Unimind, I mean, this guy Carcass, I mean, it was, and Russians. This was actually the Russians are coming. This is one of my all-time favorites. I mean, look at this. He could draw superheroes just for fun, fill pages and pages. And this is where the Russians, they spy one of the Celestials, and they end up taking a shot at with the missile, but the Celestial sees it with the eyes, and then suddenly the missile turns around and heads back at the Russians there, and it's getting closer and closer and closer. Death is barreling down at them, but then it's revealed that the missile never left its silo, and this was all part of the Celestials doing. The end, as they're all there, having died of heart attacks. What a wild scene. So the Eternals, still one of my favorites. It's my favorite of the Marvel '70s stuff he did. Now, of course, besides the Fourth World, and I kind of consider this, the Fourth World, I think, extends a little bit outside of the other four titles, and this is one of them. I think OMAC, I do believe, really is connected somehow to the Fourth World. It just has that feeling. And this, I can remember buying this when I was a kid, and I'll never forget seeing this cover, because I was, looking for something to read, and this was just like, my good God, what the hell is this? And so I read it, and it was an absolute amazing story. I love this transformation of Buddy Blank into OMAC. So cool. But it ended tragically very quickly, because they cancelled it, and it was one of the just boom. That was the last panel of it. So it was tragically cut short. That in itself is almost like an editorial comment on how DC, I think, could have managed Kirby a lot better. Now, he also did do this, The Losers, one of my favorite all-time war comics. I did a war episode recently, and this I included in it. This, of course, has a lot of Kirby's own war stories, but once again, to me, Kirby's still at his greatest. This is great '70s Kirby. Still had that action, still had it going on, still wildly imaginative. So to me, the losers are winners. Yay! Now, of course, we're going to get down into now what is the final five. And, what was it? Oh, my loser. Oh, yeah. The final six books here. We're halfway through. And this one is going to be, after them, is the Forever People. So we're getting into Fourth World territory now. I love them all. It was really hard for me to decide which, the order in which I love them. But I love them all. The Forever People, it just has, it's Kirby's love song to the youth of the day, to the hippies, to the young people. So it has a joyful optimism to it, with a little bit of history thrown in, and it's to me still one of my favorite Kirby creations of all time. I mean, I love the entire Fourth World, don't get me wrong. I love that one. But there's some of them I love a little bit more. Now, even more than that, at number 5 is The Demon, which for some reason I also consider a latter Fourth World. Because one sketch it had like a Fourth World horror title or whatever. But yes, this is, to me, The Demon is the Fourth World. But done in a horror style. And the funny thing about this was, with this one, Kirby was still a bit ticked off about DC them screwing him around. So he based The Demon after a demon that Hal Foster had in a very early Prince Valiant. Now, it's Prince Valiant dressed up like a demon with a chicken carcass pulled over his face. So Kirby took that and he turned it into an actual demon. It was sort of an inside joke, and I don't think they noticed it. I never noticed it until it was pointed out years later. So it's still pretty cool. Now, at number 4 comes, believe it or not, another one of my favorites from the Fourth World, and that is, of course, Jimmy Olsen. Because when Kirby came to DC, he had to take one of their other titles along with his Fourth World, so he took Jimmy Olsen because allegedly it had no artist on it, and he changed Jimmy Olsen forever. To me, his Jimmy Olsen is still possibly one of the best Jimmy Olsens. You felt proud to be reading a Jimmy Olsen comic back then, because let's be honest, it had really pushed the limit, because at that time Jimmy had become almost a caricature. You know, anytime he got in trouble, he just pushed that little button on that stupid watch of his and Superman would come running. Here he teams up with the Newsboy Legion, and they have their whiz wagon. And he goes on wild adventures in the wild area. Gets to see the Mountain of Judgment, and just perfect from there on in. Possibly Kirby's last great series of all time, I think, was Commandy, the Last Boy on Earth. I mean, right from the start, that the cover to me was more than enough to do it, and it just captured my imagination. And this was one of the first Kirby ones that I was buying religiously off the stand after, I think it was after a later one, but of course with this one I quickly went back and picked up all the other issues that I was missing, and I started reading it and I started loving it. So Commandy, Last Boy on Earth, one of the, I mean, this too is definitely later Fourth World, I believe, right? There's just something very Fourth World like about it all. Wily imaginative as usual. Now, last but not least is the last 2 entries, and I picked one book to show both those because, well, you know, just because. Because I like the size that the things are done at. And my number 2, in terms of Kirby's Fourth World, is Mr. Miracle. I bought the number 1 issue at the time. It was the only comic that I actually bought the number 1 issue off the stand at the time. A lot of the other ones I'd picked up when I went back and picked them up years later. But I was in on that one right from the start, and I loved Mr. Miracle. There was just something cool about him, the whole escaping thing, and like I say, I was in my really getting to fall in love with Kirby, and this sealed the deal. Now, the number 1, let's see now, the number 1 comic in my mind for DC, from the 70s, from Jack Kirby's 1970s output, be DC or Marvel, my all-time favorite is still Orion of the New Gods, or the New Gods. I love this. This is actually issue 2. Issue 1 also has like a really cool, I guess in some ways I like the the issue 1 cover there. Inked by Don Heck, apparently. But yeah, New Gods, it was the, to me, it was the foundation, was the, on which all the other comics spread out from. That and Jimmy Olsen in a way. But there was something about the New Gods that to me, it was, and it still is one of my favorite Kirby creations. It was a whole new mythology. It was all the beauty of Thor continued with a tiny bit of Fantastic Four thrown in on top of it, was what it felt like. And Darkseid, I mean, come on, people. Look at that guy. There's a hero. Oh, and there's a Miss Miracle #1. Anyway, so yeah, so New Gods, definitely my #1 pick in terms of 70 Kirbys. Like I say, with the, I didn't mind Devil Dinosaur, and Machine Man wasn't too bad. 2001 was actually after Captain America, probably my favorite of his 70s work. And of course he did some great cover work for Marvel at the time. Anyway, that's Kirby through the 70s. A quick look at Kirby in the swinging 70s. Yeah! And I was there. I know what it was like, I know what I was buying, and I know what I loved, and it was Jack Kirby, the king. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, hopefully by the next week, Luna will be back here in St. John's, back from her vacation. I know she's having a great time, and I know you all miss her out there. And it's kind of weird just talking to you folks by myself. I'm used to having her there to bounce stuff off of. Anyway, that being said, I have a local comic book artist coming here to the library to utilize the studio and hang out with me as I do some drawing this afternoon. I'm trying to do more of that this year too. So besides just having the library here for scholars and all that, I want it here for local comic book artists too. That being said, thanks for having me over, and I love you all. See you next week. Bye. Woo.